Here's one of the here's that protester that they dragged off the stage last night after they had announced that Trump wasn't going to be there.
The Chicago activist who was in the thick of it, and in fact a photo of him went viral yesterday, and video of him was Jedidiah Brown. He was dragged off the stage as he attempted to speak to protesters and others gathered in the arena. Jedidiah joins us now from Chicago. Thank you so much for your time.
So glad to be on time.
Let me first get your reaction to what Trump said in this past hour, describing what he says were aggressive protesters, violent protesters. In a tweet released this morning, he referred to protesters as thugs. What's your reaction?
My reaction is absolutely incorrect. We were, citizens, there were a lot of people that were undecided voters. We wanted to know in Chicago if a Trump rally was the environment that we seen in the media. And we care about our city, and if it was, we definitely did not want that rhetoric in Chicago's airways or on Chicago soil.
A number of people had gone onto social media calling for peaceful protests. If you went onto Facebook, and I know that last night it was reported essentially that this had come out of thin air, but there was a call for organized peaceful protests of the Trump rally. It is on a university campus. If anybody's been to Chicago, the west side of Chicago, diverse in age because of the college, and ethnicity, Hispanic and African American. When you made it to the stage, what was the message that you wanted to get to that audience?
The message that I was getting out was that America is already great without the hate. When I got to the rally, before any cameras was rolling, before I was in any frame, there was so much hatred, so much ignorance, so much discrimination. It was a very terrible environment, and it felt like the descriptions of the 60s when blacks were considered 3/5 of human beings or property. It felt like that kind of environment. Very hateful.
Okay, so we're looking at the video of you. People will say, look at him on stage. He rushed the stage. That is not a peaceful protester. That is someone who was trying to take over the rally. Explain what was going through your mind. Explain that moment to us.
So once I saw all of the hatred that was going on, I definitely focused in on the stage. I ran up there to give the message, America's already great without the hate. I was peaceful. I never struck a police officer. I utilized my freedom of speech, my ability to give my opinion. I gave that, and everybody wants to figure out who's the victim here. This is not about a victim. This is about values. And the Trump's rallies, we've seen people be pushed around. We've seen Trump talk about smacking individuals, and in Chicago, we let it be known this is not acceptable in Chicago, and it shouldn't be acceptable in America. You're taking us backwards. You're not moving us forward. So I was on that stage to shut it down after I saw that Trump supporters did not have a problem with being violent, being racist, being hateful. It was a value thing.
We've heard from Republican rivals who say that Donald Trump's rhetoric contributed to what we saw in Chicago. Marco Rubio was asked again, would he support Trump if he is the nominee? He said he doesn't know. That was a different answer than we saw from all of them on that debate stage, where they said if he's the nominee, they would support him. I don't know if you've endorsed someone, and I don't know if you've supported someone, but do you believe at this point that it is up to the Republican Party to speak out more against their frontrunner?
Absolutely. This was the opportunity even for Trump to show amazing leadership about how he's going to lead the country. He could have got up and said instead of saying it's the protesters' fault, it's not our fault, he could have said, this is not the America that I'm looking to build. He said he was a unified. He could have gave us a unified message. He could have been the calm to the storm. He could have probably won some of us over. But Trump decided to point blame, and no one in the Republican Party stood up. And that's why I'm going to remain a very faithful and a very loyal Democrat, because the Republicans dropped the ball. Last night, that could have been the climax to bring us all together. It could have been a turning point, but they showed what their values were. Their values is on dividing us. Their values is on hatred. Their values is on racism, and we don't need that in America. We've been there before. We've done that.
And we're almost out of time, and I want to pick up what you said about racism. One of the things that I think people who are looking to divide along racial lines, many of the protesters who were there as well were black, Hispanic, and also white. And people will emphasize the black, white of the dynamics of the Trump supporters versus the protesters. But there were peaceful protesters who were not of color as well, speaking out against Trump's message.
Absolutely. We all understand that what Trump's rhetoric is, we don't need it. And people from all different walks of life came to stand against it. And very clearly, I had on a dress shirt, I had on dress slacks, dress shoes, and a belt on my waist. But I was called a thug. And so today I dress like this on purpose because I love my city, and there's so much ignorance. And what the people who came together yesterday showed was real power in democracy, real power in America. People that were Muslim, people who were Christian, people who women, Hispanic, black people, we were all together and we were all saying one thing: stop the stereotyping, stop the labeling, stop the hatred, stop assuming. Let's have a conversation and let's stop all this confusion. And we wanted to stand against a campaign that promotes hatred. It promotes hatred. I hate what I saw yesterday, and I never want to see it again in my life.
Jedidiah Brown, thank you so much for joining us from the great city of Chicago, who's overcome many moments in this country's history that we want to forget, but certainly it's a part of our vibrant history of this country. Thank you very much, Jedidiah. Coming up.
All right, so, you know, that, in my opinion, was pretty good. And you can see the stack, excuse me, the stark contrast. Today, he's dressed with a skull cap on, t-shirt, blah, blah, blah. Yesterday, you know, he's dressed in a nice dress shirt, decent pair of slacks, belt, more professional looking. Same person, different attire, but the person last night dressed well is called a thug. Unbelievable.